There's a specific moment that happens in almost every meeting. You have an idea, you can feel it, and then you go silent. This video is about why that happens, and it has nothing to do with confidence. If you work in tech 5 or 10 years into your career, you're excellent at what you do, but you're still overlooked in the rooms that matter, this channel is for you. When you go silent in the moments that matter the most, it has nothing to do with personality or confidence. It has everything to do with history and the expectation of perceived value. Now, let me break that down. Your silence is not rooted in how you think people should feel about yourself or how you feel about yourself. Your silence is rooted in the history of what you have been through, which is causing the reasons why you don't speak up. And the expectation of value comes from you believing that all the things that you're doing for people or doing on paper is going to speak for itself, when it doesn't. In your history, things like sharing ideas get ignored or dismissed, or even worse, feeling like there's some type of political or business structure that doesn't allow you to fully express yourself, or you get overruled by those people, or you feel like because you're getting overruled by these people, there's no point in sharing your expertise. But here's the thing, you've done the work. You know what you're doing. You know the history. You know the problems. And you actually have the solutions. But it's finding what's inside of you and the purpose that's on the other side of what you need to say that is causing you to have this disruption, right? Like between you and the solution, there's a wall of fear. And this fear comes from the idea that if you were to somehow share your expertise, highlighting risks or challenges is going to somehow make you look like you're difficult to work with or uncollaborative or difficult, or somehow, some way risk your chance at getting a promotion. So what happens is with this is you just stop speaking up entirely. And you've done this so many times that you conditioned yourself to just be quiet. And because you do that, you stay dormant. And because you stay dormant and you're working so hard and you're excellent and you know what you're doing, it creates burnout. But all of this could be avoided if you just know how you can effectively use your voice and speak up in the moments that matter. I remember when I was working in corporate, I used to go above and beyond to try to get promotions. I mean, the work would come into my lap and I would complete them with efficiency. And I thought that efficiency and quality would lead to a promotion just landing in my lap. I thought that the work that I did would translate to the people that I was giving it to and I wouldn't have to necessarily explain it. Like I was technically brilliant, but when it came down to explaining, I felt like the work should speak for itself. And then when I actually did explain, I feel like it went over people's heads. And because of that, slowly but surely, I started to regress into the background, which ultimately put me on a back burner and had others get promoted in front of me. People who were louder than me, people who took more initiative than I took. Like naturally, I identified as an introverted person. So the energy that it took for me to even explain myself sometimes felt like it was too much for me in the moment. So all of this led to feelings of resentment and trying to understand my purpose in the work that I was doing. This caused me to sit still in meetings and start feeling invisible, trying to figure out if I should say anything at all, if it even mattered. And then I convinced myself that it didn't. And then the times that I had something to say, I felt like I didn't have the right words to say it. When the truth is, how you're going to say it is the right way that it should be expressed. And if you know what you're doing, if you know what you're talking about, then others are going to be able to receive that if you can just formulate your sentence in a way that other people receive it, right? There's a communication channel that happens here. There's what we put out and then there's what people receive. And we have to understand that the gap between what we put out and what people will receive depends on how we formulate the things that we are going to say. We have to be clear, we have to be concise, we have to have one idea when we do these things. Here's what I want you to understand. Going silent is not a character trait. It's not personality. It's not confidence. It's not introversion. What it is a communication block. It's a gap between who you are and who you perform to be in these high stakes rooms. And there's a difference between those two. Who you are is who should be seen in these rooms. The natural person that speaks up based on their expertise and their knowledge, and people receive that in a way that you understand it as you are trying to explain it. Performance, on the other hand, in these high stakes rooms, lead to you saying things that you don't necessarily believe. You may be saying things that you want others to understand in a way that you feel they'll understand it. But because of that, it creates moments of imposter syndrome. It creates moments of anxiety, and it feels fake. It feels unreal because you are performing instead of communicating from who you are. You don't fully trust your voice yet. And when you trust your voice, you communicate from who you are. When you trust your ideas, you communicate from who you are. When you are able to articulate one idea clear, concisely, in one sentence, you are communicating from who you are. When you ramble, when you continue to repeat the same ideas over and over again in different ways, hoping that it'll spray everybody in the room and everybody's going to catch your ideas, you are performing. And this is a key difference between communicating effectively and communicating from a place of desperation and anxiety. The first step to removing this communication block is to understand when it actually shows up. And most of the time, it shows up in the same moment at the same time for a particular person. It's on you to spot when that moment is. Because the moment you can spot when that moment is the moment you can start working on it. See, for myself as a kid, I was a very shy and quiet and introverted kid. Like when I was in school, I knew the answers, but I didn't want to raise my hand out of fear of looking dumb or wrong or saying the wrong thing. So I'd rather just stay to myself and be quiet. And that kind of attitude, I carried that all the way to adulthood. And when I got to start working in these corporate environments, I thought that the work that it took for me to get there was enough. I thought getting my degrees was enough. I thought that the work on paper showed itself. I thought that when I handed in my assignments that I would get a proverbial pat on the back and people would be wowed by my work. And that didn't help me. It wasn't until I spotted the moments when I wasn't being visible, wasn't putting myself out there, wasn't saying what needed to be said, was when that actually stopped. Because the moment I was able to spot that part of my life and where I was holding myself back was the moment that everything began to change. And I realized that change started with my voice. That change started when I realized that my discomfort in the situations to speak up was rooted in performance. It was rooted in me acting a certain way or trying to convey my value a certain way. And that's not how I should have been looking at it. What you don't realize is a lot of you are just performing, and that's what makes it hard to speak up. When you are trying to perform, you are not naturally being yourself. And there's a root cause of this. You've been told to just speak up more or be more assertive, and that doesn't work. That does not address the root cause. And sure, there are things out there that can assist you that I'm sure you've been pointed to before. Things like Toastmasters. And as somebody who is a part of a Toastmasters group who has won Toastmaster awards, I can tell you, I didn't get into Toastmasters to learn how to communicate better. I got into Toastmasters to improve on what I've already done. And what I've learned in Toastmasters is Toastmasters teaches performance. It teaches polish. It teaches how you can come off to people that shows your competence within speaking. But that's all performance. That does not address the root cause. Confidence courses teaches acting. You don't want to act confident. You want to be confident. The problem with confidence courses is they give you these motivational pep talks that don't necessarily translate into you believing in your own confidence. The only way you can gain confidence is through evidence. And the only way you can gain evidence is if you actually take action, especially when it comes to your voice. The only way you're going to gain confidence in your voice is to actually use it. Learn from the outputs of what your voice says and the outcomes of everyone around you, and then use that, refine it, and then the next time it's time for you to speak up, you have history and evidence on what happened before, and you can use that to improve upon yourself. So Toastmasters, confidence courses, telling you to just speak up more or be more assertive, this doesn't address the root issue, the underlying block, which is why people leave those programs or just check out and still go into these meetings staying silent. You have to address the root underlying block and remove that so that your natural self can then show itself in a way that you are comfortable explaining and expressing and showing your expertise. The solution is this. It's not to perform better. It's to stop performing entirely. And that's what I teach. How to stop performing and start communicating from who you are. If you want to know exactly how to do this, subscribe and I will show you how. In my next video, I'm going to get more into the real reason of why you were told to speak up and why that advice failed. If you want to understand why this exactly keeps happening and what you can do about it, I have a free live training that's coming up that shows you how to stop going silent in the rooms that matter. Stay subscribed and the details are coming soon.